please welcome the incredible Tori Wesszer.
Aw, thank you, Renee. It's so good to be here, honestly.
I know I could maybe throw a stone and hit your house. Probably not. You're kind of far from me, but we're
We're
close.
across the lake from each other, right?
Yeah, I can't throw that far. Yeah.
Yeah, well, me neither. Me neither.
Yeah. I don't actually go over there that often. But yeah, where we live is just so magical. It is, there's something in it, in the air, in the rocks,
Yeah,
in the earth, in the lake. I
I
think it makes
agree.
it, yeah,
It's
there's
like
something.
therapy here. It's like therapy in a destination, don't you
It
think?
is. But also, what I noticed about Kelowna is just the quality of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're here. That's a huge
And
bonus.
you're here.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. But it's just like, I find it was so easy to make girlfriends because people move here for the most part because they want to be here, not because of family or work.
Mhm.
They want the lifestyle. So immediately you're filtering for people that want to be here to do certain things.
Yeah, I love that. And as someone who grew up here, I don't think it was always like that. So I love hearing that that's your experience. I think that Kelowna has evolved a lot, and I think that the fact that people now can work from anywhere in the world, for by and large, not everyone, of course, I think it's opened up the playing field of like who can move where. And Kelowna is such a prime destination. I do think that the caliber of people here are amazing, and I think it's just going to get better and better.
It is. Yeah. It's and with people like you doing what you do, attracting women like me here. I'm only here because of you.
Oh,
Yeah.
the truth comes out.
That's
I
it.
love it. I love it. I scored.
Exactly. No, we actually came out here for only 6 months. And then 10 days into our trip, we were driving up to Big White and I just turned it in. It was like snowing. It was just like we're in a snow globe. It was so beautiful. I said, "Do you want to move here?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Great." He goes, "Kiss and seal the deal."
No way.
And we kissed and then we moved here. Just like
So
that.
are you both that spontaneous?
Yes.
Ooh, I love that.
Yes.
If I did that to Charles, he'd just have a heart attack on the spot.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It depends though. Like spontaneity depends on what it is. But
Okay.
we were already primed and ready to move anyway. We were supposed to move to San Diego, and then the pandemic and the elections were like, meh. So we were moving. We just didn't know where.
I am so happy that
Yeah.
you ended up here.
Yeah, me too. So where we live, we face the downtown, and then we also have we're on the peninsula by Knox, so we can actually face the east side as well. So you got to come and visit.
I would love to come visit. And
100%.
likewise, we look at you. I could probably wave to you.
100% you
Ish.
should.
Well, I'm a little bit further down the lake, but we're kind of near everything is marked in wineries around here. It feels like so Quails Gate Winery, but I grew up
Oh,
here. I could still see my parents' house, so I love, love, love calling this home. And Charles helped me build our dream home. He built it. I didn't do anything. And yeah, I'm just I think we're lifers here.
there we go. Let's do
Mhm.
it. Let's do
Yeah,
life together.
let's do it.
Okay, so speaking of life, this is totally relevant, but tell us a little bit about what you do, especially today. Like, what's the today version of Tori?
Oh yeah, I feel like the list of what I don't do might be smaller. The funny thing, I said to my son, Charlie, my oldest son, Charlie, the other day, we were driving along and he's always talking about, being successful and I'm getting him onto like dance stuff and I'm just really excited for him. He's really driven. And I said, you know what, honey, like what I really wish for you is that you feel the same way about your work that I do about my work. One day that's my goal for you, whether you're making a lot of money or a little, I don't know, but like I love showing up to work. So we have a office that's attached to my home. We call it Paris because I've just started to like figure out that, hey, I'm 46. So like, I actually really love everything French. Like I've always have. And I'm just,
Obviously.
yes, I know. I know. It's like, so we've nicknamed our office Paris. It has very French vibes. I have a team of women that I get to work with every day and they are amazing, just fabulous, fabulous people. And we really at the root of what we do a lot of things from a tactical perspective, but really we're just trying to like make women's lives easier and more beautiful and to give women some empowerment in terms of like giving themselves grace and taking time for themselves. I just feel so passionate about that and so grateful that I get to do that through so many different avenues in my business.
Yeah. So, what are some of these modalities?
Right, right. So cookbook is one. I got
Yeah.
to write two cookbooks with my cousin Jillian, who
Yeah.
is an absolute force. She's just so beautiful. And now I'm writing a third cookbook all on my own. That's all around meal planning and kind of getting meals on the table because it's such a pain point for women, especially, right? What's for dinner? You want to stress out? I could just.
Oh, I actually called my mom aside when she was visiting. So my mom's if I had to summarize my mother's life, it's always answering what's for dinner.
Mm,
But she was asking the question, what do you guys want for dinner? And
right.
it just seemed like the question started at 9 a.m. I'm like, just finished breakfast, don't care about dinner.
Yeah.
But when you're young or you're busy, you don't realize what actually goes in to making a meal. 'Cause sometimes you have to thaw the chicken or go to the grocery store. So there's a lot involved.
Oh yeah. It's not about the cooking. I mean, the cooking is part of it, but it's the smaller part of it. I did a poll actually on our social media. I was like, I was so curious. Like, what is the biggest pain point for people? And, is it the grocery shopping? Is it the contemplating what's for dinner? Is it the actual cooking? I mean, the cleanup. And it is the question and planning and figuring out what's for dinner. It's just the mental fatigue of figuring out what to serve your family night after night, day after day, that's going to make you feel good, them feel good, not break the bank, all of those things. I think it's one of the biggest pain points that women have.
Yeah. And so we do meal prep here. This like one of the things, obviously, with Dan writing Buy Back Your Time, I don't like cooking. I never enjoyed it, but I do love baking. And why I love baking is because this is what goes into it, and you can't really do any alternatives. So follow the recipe and it's done. So we do meal prep. So we have our lunches and our dinners meal prepped for us and delivered to the house. And some of those meals the boys like. And so we'll cook up for them. But for most of the time, they're having something completely different.
Isn't that fun?
No,
I know.
no. I remember when I grew up as a kid, my mom would make beef stroganoff and I hated the smell of it. But I remember walking down the stairs in my childhood home and I could smell it and I knew it was for dinner. But I grew up in a household where it's like, that is what we're eating and you have no choice but to eat that.
Ditto.
Yeah. So I'd plug my nose and I'd put it down the hatch
Yeah.
and call it a day.
Yeah. Not make like 4 different meals to make sure everyone's happy. I know
Yeah.
it's hard. It's not easy because in theory it's easy to say I'm just going to make my kids eat whatever, but then you get into the whiny pain point of it's it's not easy.
So you're solving this problem.
I am I am bent on solving this problem. I've realized that I actually really love solving problems. And which is convenient because when you're in business, that's really what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the problem hasn't been solved properly because if you still go to any soccer pitch, you go to doesn't matter. You ask moms, hey, like what's for dinner? I can see the cortisol levels rise in their body. It is like an instant stressor. And there are solutions out there, but I believe there's such a space between like, figure it out yourself, Renee, like you got this girl, or like already done for you. Yeah, there's got to be something in the middle that meets the needs. And I'm trying to occupy that space in there. I'm trying to solve that problem for people.
You will solve it.
I feel like I'm close.
And then this is the third cookbook you're doing now?
It is.
Okay. And then I was just watching some of your stories and your husband taste testing some of the recipes.
You could say testing.
Eating it. He wasn't tasting it.
He was inhaling it, actually.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I'm not sure humans should take that big of a bite, Charles. So I know like there are ways to eat that don't require me to like know the Heimlich maneuver.
Yeah. I'm so glad you got that on camera. It's very sweet though. He was invested in that bite.
Yeah. He's going to give me honest feedback. I mean, he would have also, if he didn't like it, he would have told me right then and there, which I would have posted as well. Like, this is not good. And he's done us many times. My mom is always like, oh, he's so mean. I'm like, no, he's not mean, FYI, but he's very honest. Yeah. And I'm like, Mom, no. Like, I want the honesty. I don't want him to be sugarcoating something. And then I put a recipe out and people are like, this actually sucks.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about this then. Why the recipe books?
That's a great question because I honestly feel like it's like childbirth. Every time I do one, I'm like, never again. That was hard. That was painful. They're just, Dan has a book, how hard it is, what goes into writing a book. And then how do you say no? So we've been fortunate to have Penguin Random House as our publishers. We're on book 3. So 1, 2 with Jill. This one, not sure what it'll be called, is coming out. And I just think, you know what it is I live in a digital world. So everything I do for the most part is very, it's not very tangible. There's some things are changing, which I'll be excited to talk about at some point. But I love the fact that I can walk into chapters for instance, into indigo,
Oh
and
yeah.
like hold the book, and it's something so tangible,
Smell
and
it.
I can like,
Smell it.
yeah, I can flip the pages. Like it's an actual real thing that's
Yeah.
not going to be, it's not like an Instagram story or a reel or a blog post that kind of like just disappears into wherever, the zeros and ones of the world. So I love the fact that it's like, it's such a legacy project. And I don't know, I can't say now that I'm on my third, I don't know if there will be an end or when that will happen. But for now, I'm just kind of, I feel like it's one of those things. It's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah. So how do you come up with the recipes?
Well, it's not just me. I have a team of people,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of work of like brainstorming. So coming up with the
Yeah.
table of contents. It's so funny though, because we've done so many recipes in between the meal plan, my blog, the cookbooks, that sometimes I come up with the idea someone on the team's like, yeah, you already did that actually.
Yeah.
Like flip to page 302 of the cookbook. It's already in there. Uh, so I have to catch myself because I'm like, ladies, I came up with this great idea. And they're like, yeah, sorry, senior, you've already done that.
Did that. It's sometimes hard to remember because you've cooked a lot. How long have you been doing this for?
Since 2014, off the side of my desk. So when I first started, I actually had a full-time job, and
Oh,
I had Charlie at the time. And so he was 2. And uh, I've always wanted to, my parents were entrepreneurs. I've loved the business world. And before that, I actually started up another business with my cousin Jillian that failed. And that was a whole other ball of wax. We can unpack that if you want. But it was a lesson in humility. It was a lesson in learning from failures and pivoting and all of those things. And so the business was all about like online antiques, something else I'm very passionate about, but it wasn't what I knew best. Kind of
yeah.
long story short, that failed. I burnt out, like classic burnout definition of that in the dictionary. If you looked up that, I would be there,
Okay.
full color picture. But I wasn't ready to quit. And so I decided, what do I know? Of course, I know nutrition. I love cooking. I've always been in the kitchen. It's been just part of my DNA. And I love helping people. I love like caring for people. I think that's like very much me. And so I thought, you know what? People are doing vlogs. This is 2014. It can't be so hard. So I found some really crappy template on WordPress and put out the world's ugliest blog. It was like this lettuce wrap blog, but I did it, in perfect action, and started from there. And then the first collaboration I ever had, or partnership, I worked for honey. I literally got a free jar of honey, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh my, this is amazing. I'm like, baby, someone gave me honey. Like, I was like, I got something. Like, that's so cool. And obviously it's evolved since then.
Yeah.
My team doesn't get paid in honey, unfortunately. So here we are. I can't work for honey anymore.
No.
No, but it's just been a slow evolution of like, learn, reiterate, do better, the over and over again. And it's led me here, and here's not the end point, but I love where I'm at. I love it.
So what was this like your yes moment that changed the trajectory of your professional life?
I feel like I've had a lot of yes moments in my career, to be honest. Like I think that, I mean, the honey was even a yes moment, like almost like mini yes moments where I'm reminded that I'm meant to be where I am. I think
Ooh.
I think that's the thing. And even recently I have a partnership with a big company. I can't really talk about it, but it's a validation. It's like, wait, whoa, like they are believing in me. Like, and sometimes I don't believe in myself as much. It's like, that was a yes moment. I'm like, wait, they are putting their full faith and trust in me. I owe it to them and me to do the same for me. Like, I need to be all in on me as well, because I've got other people that are all in on me, my staff, my partnerships, the people who follow me, all of that. And I think as women, we often doubt ourselves. We're so much our worst critic. And I'm constantly find myself like beating myself up. And I'm just always reminded of like, wait a second, like I'm not good at celebrating the now. I'm always good at like fast, move forward, do more. But I've really learned to be like, nah, look at this. I get to be here. How wonderful it is. And how much I owe to the people who believed in me. I feel so like overwhelmed with like gratitude.
See, that's one thing I think a lot of us miss too, is when we're in those moments of like just pure chaos in life and business, we just don't stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
And that's why I use the 5-minute journal every morning. There's things to just be thankful for. And like for me, it's always like, I love my warm house and a hot cup of coffee. But when you actually step back and you think like in those moments of, I call those your cheerleaders, where people are like coming in and validating you, validating your work, what you're doing. I get those little snippets every now and then when I'm ready to throw in the towel with my podcast, and someone in that moment will share on Instagram stories an episode that transformed their day or their week,
Yeah,
which was the validation. It's like God working through them saying, don't stop. You're changing lives. This is
totally.
just one person who shared their story, but there's many other who don't share.
It's so true.
And then you just keep going. It's like, thank you. It just needed that little memento. Let's go.
Yeah. And I don't know if people understand the power of that, truly the power of that little word that you needed. No one knew that you needed that at that time. But here the simple fact that someone took 5 minutes, maybe 2 out of their day to say like, hey, you changed my life. Like that made a difference. And how motivating that was for you. I think of that all the time in my days of like, even at the grocery store, whatever it is, it might be a small moment, but I'm just going to stop and like, hey, how are you doing? Like, really, actually, how are you doing? And look them in the eye. And if I want to say something, if I'm thinking something about someone, I'm like, oh, that person looks great or whatever it may be, like just like taking the time to say it, because you never know how big of an impact it's going to have on someone.
That's it. That's why I always advocate for cheerleaders, and where you get a moment to say that, that dress looks great on you, or you look beautiful, or like even the other day, there's almost like this regret that I have. One of my good friends just did this really cool, magical, like spiritual experience. And when I saw her, she was glowing.
Mm.
She looked different. She looked younger. She had a different aura, different vibe. And I didn't tell her.
Yeah.
But I'm reminded that I gotta mention, just a quick text. But why do we hold ourselves back from complimenting somebody?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if we're just moving so fast, or if we just undervalue the difference it might make. I don't know. I think some people have a hard time taking compliments too. And maybe if we have a hard time taking compliments, we might feel like someone has a hard time receiving them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a great question.
Do you receive compliments well?
I'm working on it. I used to not. I used to, everyone used to call me sorry, Tori. I still say sorry too much, but I've learned that it's actually insulting to not take a compliment well. If someone's complimenting me, it's like, oh, someone's giving me a gift. It's like someone's giving me a gift and I'm just saying like, no, thanks. I don't want it. You just wouldn't, you wouldn't do that. Right.
No.
So I've always been fearful of, I never want to look egotistical or full of myself or anything like that. Like that's really important to me. But I also want to show people to accept compliments, and my kids too. And I've reframed everything. When you become a parent, you're like, wait, like they're watching everything. So how I show them how to show up in the world, they're going to be like they're going to figure out how to show up in the world. And that's going to be impactful for them. So I'm really mindful of all that. So now I'm just like, thank you so much. And I just express my gratitude. That means so much to me. And sometimes I repay a compliment back to them. I think that it's very impactful, and beyond what we tell them, what they see is what they're really going to learn from. So I think that it's one thing to say like, be a good person, but really eat healthy. But if you're not showing them what that looks like in real time, then I don't think those words actually mean that much.
No, monkey see, monkey do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just need these reminders to keep going, but also imagine a day or a week or a month without that validation.
Yeah.
So like we have to go deep to actually get that from ourselves to be able to keep going, knowing that my mission is pure, my purpose is pure. There's people that are waiting for me. And when you actually have that realization that you're doing the right thing and you got to keep going the path, you can just keep going.
Yeah.
Even if nobody's saying, good job, way to go, Renee, way to go, Tori.
Mm-hmm.
We need to build that muscle that we can keep going. And then, when we get to the end and no one's there, then we realize that probably time to toss in the towel. But that rarely happens.
I agree.
Cool. Okay. So we're talking about like meaningful relationships too in the digital age, building community. So you started with a failed antique company.
Oh yeah. Crash and burn.
That's okay.
Totally.
But now it's a story you can share.
Oh yeah.
And now you've built this incredible brand and incredible cookbooks and the other stuff that you're doing. How have you really developed and grown your community authentically. And like, when did this all start too?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you. That's me receiving a compliment. I I think it's been such a slow progression. And I worry that people they see the end point, but they don't see the build. And, don't compare someone else's, what is the end journey to your start or whatever. There's a more
Like
poetic.
chapter 2 to chapter 12.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Much, much better. Much better. There we are. Cliches have never been my strong point, but I think that what people don't see, and it's what I always want my children to see, because they don't really know, they don't remember me going through all the build, is it just takes a lot of time, a lot of persistence, a lot of like dust yourself off, pick yourself back up again, a lot of learning, a lot of error. And really with my community, I think that I care. I think at the heart of it, I care. And I think that's why my community is so kind, because I like to think that, at least. Also, they're just kind people. But I try to make an effort to show up. They're taking time out of their day. I respond. It's really important that every human counts, every person counts. Mm-hmm. And I always think I think I have a quite high level of empathy. And so I always consider, or at least think about, what someone might be going through on the other side of this screen. Because everyone has a journey. And even when someone's like maybe even mean, I don't get a lot of that. It's my instant reaction is like, oh, I'm so sorry, because obviously you're having a rough time, because happy people don't act that way. And so I really believe that. And I think that's been a big part of it, is just really caring about people, having a genuine interest in people, listening to them, hopefully giving them more of what they're after, and then kind of repeating that, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Does that ever get exhausting?
You know what gets exhausting? This might sound like I'm trying to, what's the word? Like, be a hero, but I'm not. I get anxious and exhausted that I can't help more people, which it sounds like, and I don't mean, don't let that sound like, there's a word. Words are hard today.
That's all right. It's a Friday.
But I wish I could help more. I wish I could help, but like one-on-one help. Like, I wish I could help more people. Like, it makes me anxious when I can't, like, I know people are suffering, and I'm limited in what I can do about it, whether it's food security, whether it's like people just going through a hard time in their life, or I don't know. Like, I think life is hard. Life is going to be hard. If it's not hard now, it's going to be hard for all of us at some point. Like, no one makes it out alive. Spoiler alert. And, and so this life is precious, and some people have it harder than others. So I just wish I could. I'm always trying to find ways that I could have bigger impact to help people without burning out, because I burn out pretty easily just with who I am. My boundaries are not great. It's a big issue in my relationship, because I'm always like, yeah, come over, let me feed you, come in, door's always open, like, yes, yes, yes. And I love that, but it also means like I'm kind of never really shut off, and I'm not amazing at protecting time for myself and like are just like a little core unit.
Yeah, I am learning to be the opposite. So we just had a summer of revolving door guests, which is beautiful. Friends and family coming from like Canada and the States. And when I'm in it, I'm just like pure adrenaline. We're just going. It's fun, kind of working, entertaining. Then when it's all done, you're kind of like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually have an aura ring, and I look at my resilience in terms of like stress for the day. And I'm always like the strongest peak in terms of resilience when I'm in it. When it's all done, that's when my stress kicks in. It's the craziest thing.
I actually am not surprised by that. I'm just in my own body and observing that I think when you're in it, your adrenaline's going, you don't have time to even like acknowledge stress. You're just giving her.
Yeah.
So how is that evolving for you?
Well, my spiritual therapist, because we had a friend of ours pass away, unfortunately, this summer. And then a year ago, a friend's husband passed away, who were seemingly both healthy men around the same age. They were both on vacation. And so I asked her, I go, our two friends passed away on vacation. She's like, yeah, that's normal. I'm like, okay, explain. For the same reason.
Right.
Is that they just go to the limits of what they're able to do. And they might be sick or not. And then something catastrophic happens because they finally decided to relax.
Oh.
And their immune system is just like done. And I even shared a thing this morning on social media. I'm going to read it to you because this is so pertinent to what we're just talking about. But it is about I hate when you can't look at your stories right away. There we go.
I
Okay.
know.
I said, when your nervous system has been operating in overdrive for an extended period of time and you're burnt out, one good night's sleep or a weekend rest is not enough to recover. Unfortunately, it can take months, even years to fully reset. Be mindful of when you are dipping into reserves.
Oh yeah, that's empowering. That's very powerful.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what I'm doing is just saying no without apologizing. Like and I'm sure you're the same. There's demands of your time. Renee, can you speak at this event? Can you come to this summit? I'd love for you to show up to this thing, or can we come visit? And if it's not an F, yeah, like if my gut's like me, then I just say, unfortunately, I don't have capacity at this time.
Yeah.
And capacity is defined. It could be time capacity, it could be emotional capacity, it could be physical capacity. I can't give you the best version of me. It's not worth it for you. I'm just going to say no this time. But you know
Yeah.
what? Let's revisit this maybe next month or next year.
Mm, I like that. So that's your litmus test
Yeah.
is if it's not like a hell
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. We do that so every year, Dan and I, well, we do quarterly couples retreats, but December's our big one where we go and plan the next year.
Yeah.
And we look at all the things that we were invited to and all of the possibilities of our year. And we'll both look at it and we'll say like F yes or F no. And if it's like absolutely, it's in pen on the calendar. If it's like a maybe, then it's we'll hold the dates. And it's like, Tetris. We'll kind of put the pieces in place to see what fits.
Yeah.
And some things are just non-negotiables. Like we have an annual trip with either Dan's family or mine. So in the winter with Dan's family, in the summer with mine, every other year. And so those are like permanent. But
Yeah.
then everything else is like, it's fluid.
Good for
So
you.
the boundaries are like, it's okay to say no. It's okay to not invite people over for coffee and your wonderful cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something I'm learning. It's a genuine desire I love people. I'm very social. And
Mhm.
Charles is a little bit less. He's still social, but yeah, I love people
Yeah.
and love feeding people. But I just also love having some balance and a little bit of sanity. So
Yeah.
there's that too, you know?
Yeah. And the thing is like we live in the beautiful country where we all have the capacity to say no to these things.
Yeah.
And I think what's really happening too is that more people are being less offended by the no's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like,
Here's hoping.
yeah,
I mean, although does it matter if they're offended or not? Like
no, and it really doesn't. Because if someone's offended, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them.
it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. Like my friend Rachel Luna wrote the book Permission to Offend, because what she's essentially arguing is like you are going to offend people no matter what. Like you, Tori, offend somebody,
Yeah.
which would just blow my mind. Like somebody's offended by you.
Oh yeah. I think about that all the time. And I'm like, I can't not, as a people pleaser, I can't not offend people. I just can't please everyone.
Yeah.
And I mean, try that, and that's going to be a surefire way to fail. So yes, I know just being okay with, okay, I'm going to offend people. Just
Yeah.
that is a great starting point.
Yes. But also know it's like if you're thinking about other people's feelings, everybody's feelings and emotions, you won't end up doing anything.
Yeah,
You
it's
won't write
paralyzing.
you won't write the cookbook. You won't go do the next thing. I won't go and grow my podcast because there's things I share in here that are totally offensive to some people.
Yeah,
Like I talk about God in my podcast. There's people that don't believe in God. So
yeah,
they're offended by that.
yeah,
But they're
absolutely,
not my people.
absolutely.
And that's it. And you even said so. Your kindness, how much you care, attracts the people that are kind and caring. So
Evidence shows that, I'd say, just because when again, I'm only going off what I see over the years, and I have a kind, caring audience, and people talk a lot about the mean comments and whatnot. And I've had things go viral. That's a different that's a different experience. But with our community that we have, it is beautiful. I just like can't say enough.
yeah, well, that's amazing. And congratulations for doing that because curating that is difficult. But also, coming back to authenticity and creating these authentic communities, when you're true to yourself, like really true to yourself of who you are, then you attract those people.
Yes.
Like I will say, you're an influencer, you're a beautiful, successful woman, but you never ever give off this air of like having a huge ego
Oh, good.
or like you're entitled to things. So showing up and talking to you is very easy
Oh, thank
and
you.
it's a lot of fun. And I
Thank
think
you.
part of that is like your DNA makes the community for you.
Thank you. That's so lovely. That's so lovely. I just feel grateful to be able to do this and call it work
Work,
and
right?
have fun. I just love it. And I can sense you
Yeah.
feel the same about what you do. You're so good at it. It's just amazing to
Well,
see.
and that's it. And we get to choose who we work with. I get to choose who I have conversations with on my show.
Yeah.
And I will say, out of the like 240 interviews I've done around, there's only ever been one interview that was off. And I knew it was going to be off going into it because she just didn't feel like somebody I was in alignment with.
Right.
And it
Right.
was like, I should not have published it, but
Ah,
it's out there.
yeah.
Yeah. So I get to have like crazy, amazing conversations with incredible women like you. Um, okay. So a question that I want to ask you. What do you think? And maybe you've already shared this, are your personal qualities that have contributed most to your business success?
Mm. Well, I am very impatient. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it's both. It's both. I am annoyingly impatient. I'm like, we get an idea. I'm like, great, amazing. We're going to do it right now. I'm like literally already I've already done it. Like I'm very impatient with everything in business because I just want it to happen.
Quick starter.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So I'm sure I give my team a daily heart attack. I'm quite frankly sure of that.
Yeah.
And they're lovely. Thank you, team, if you're listening to this, for putting up with me. I'd also say I'm like very resilient,
Mm.
incredibly hardworking. To a fault sometimes, but I love working. So I'm like, I will always put my best effort behind something if I'm doing it. And I think the genuine kindness. There's lots of things that about myself that I would maybe love to change or that I doubt or whatever. But the one thing that I don't doubt because I know myself so well is my heart and my genuine kind heart that I want to see people do well. It doesn't matter if someone is just walking on the street, or or it's Oprah Winfrey. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I want to be kind to all of the people. Everyone matters. And for me, that fuels me. And I just want to serve those people and have fun. And the world needs more kindness. So I'm just like, I'm here for that.
That's it. I was listening to actually Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, and
Mm-hmm.
she interviewed Rainn Wilson.
Mm.
And he's one of the actors from The Office. And
Yeah.
he's religious, but I forget the name of his religion. Oh, I wish I had the notes. But anyways, it's fascinating because his religious beliefs is that we're all here together. We're in this together. And so you might have like Christianity, Judaism, you might whatever. It's all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can come together and just serve each other regardless of our beliefs, then
Mm-hmm.
why don't we? Why can't we?
It's a great question. I think about it a lot. And I wish we could. I wish we could find a way to, I wonder if it's like about it. I'm not here to solve these problems in the world, but like really just about control, like you talk about letting go of control. And I just think that as a human being, it's something that I've just found so freeing is like when I let go of control or the I'm right, you're wrong, the binary thinking in life. I feel like that's where the magic happens. I wish that could be the case. I do find it hard, even like in this world, in this online world, there's always every single day something terrible happens in the world. And it's hard not talking about it, but it's also hard talking about it. And it kind of stresses me out, to be honest, because I want the world to be okay and I want all of that. But my role in the world, I believe, is to be hopefully a beacon of light, a little ray of sunshine in this world. I'm not the news. I'm not really that informed when it comes to the news. I barely watch it. I get really bogged down. I'm a very sensitive person. So people sometimes get down on me like, why aren't you sharing this important topic? I'm like, well, you're already seeing this coming at you from like 50,000 different angles.
Yeah.
Like, please don't mistake my silence on it as a lack of caring. Those two are not the same. But I love you all, and I need to protect your space so that when you cruise past this, that you're not hit with that same news story from me. You've already heard the news story if you're listening to the news. So how can I inject a little bit of ray of sunshine to make your day hopefully a little bit better, a little bit lighter, a little bit more love, like be the kindness, not the other stuff. You'd never go to the news. You'd never go to like CNN to be inspired. I don't think. Maybe if
No.
someone is, but yeah, I thought of that. I was at the gym the other
No.
day and I was watching the news, which again, I don't do often. I was like, so interesting. Like I'm watching the news because I'm going to get informed and I'm probably going to get a little depressed. And this is, but whatever that might be, but that is not what in the world of communication, I am not there to do that.
No. And thank you for saying that. When in the world of PR, there's actually a hard and fast rule around pitching journalists, especially if they write about certain topics, if there's a massive world event. So like when the wars broke out in Ukraine, the pandemic, all this stuff was happening. You essentially what they were saying is you cannot pitch journalists. How dare you pitch them during these times of crisis? And then I'm like, well, then when would I pitch them?
There's always a time of crisis.
Always something
Always.
going on. I think there's, if it's very specific, like for instance, like the thing that's happening in between Israel and Palestine, not to get political, but there are Jewish journalists. And if something catastrophic happens, 100% situational, probably don't pitch that person.
Yeah.
Or reach out and, send condolences, whatever it is. But if we're always worried about offending people, going back to this, and we won't get the job done.
Well, and the world has changed so much, hasn't it? Because we didn't, terrible things, this sounds awful, but terrible things have happened all the time. I wish they didn't. If I could take that away from the world, I would. But terrible things have always happened. It's just now, sadly, there's just so much more transparency because we have access to communication in real time so much easier. I worry for people. Obviously, I worry for people that are going through it. I also worry for people that we're not hardwired to be able to cope with that as human beings. I worry that the stress of being bombarded with all of these awful things, like I said, I would give anything to fix all those things. I don't think that we are engineered as human beings to be able to cope with that every single day and have it. So that's what fuels me. That's what makes me want to give people a little bit of a space to breathe.
That's a really good reminder.
Yeah, I think people need to learn when their little spidey senses are telling them enough's enough. I need a break from this.
But it's a good reminder of like looking at great content online. Like TikTok is notorious for if you spend more than a couple seconds or you engage in a post or a story, if you like it or comment, that it continues to think that that's the content you want. So if it's like one negative thing, then all of a sudden now you just get bombarded by that stuff.
Totally.
So if you're putting out the good stuff in the world, then maybe you're changing someone's feed. You're changing the tone of what they're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my hope. It's something small, but it could be big. And if everyone had something small to contribute, maybe it could be big. And that's the thing. You don't underestimate your impact, your potential impact in the world. I think we find ourselves living small sometimes, maybe because we think that, it's just me, what impact would I have? But you just think about all the people in the world and your husband. Think about Oprah Winfrey. What if Oprah Winfrey decided to live small? What if Oprah Winfrey was like, you know what? I'm just going to do like something really small. If everybody decided to just live small, we would have no great musicians. We would have no great chefs. We would have no cookbooks. We would have no great podcasts. We wouldn't have those wonderful people in the world. We need people to show up in their biggest version of themselves unapologetically. That's what the world needs.
Yeah. We all have the potential of creating massive impact. And when you think of like the mathematical web of finite, how it's like one thing affects two things, then those two things each affect two things. And if you look at this web, it just goes on forever.
Yeah.
So like that one little drop of the bucket ends up being this massive web.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily you impacting personally all these people, but it's those people spreading the word to their people, to sharing to their communities.
Yeah.
And that's how impact happens. Because I even look at like you or even my husband, Dan, smaller communities, like he has a King's Club, but they're, it started out with like 10 boys in a room and he's inspiring them about how to start a business to like 20. last King's Club we had 110 kids show up
Unreal.
because the whispers of like, hey, you got to come, you got to come. And now those kids are going to their buddies. Like these are 15-year-old boys
Yeah.
showing up to learn how to start a business. They're going to their buddies who are home playing video games saying, hey, can I tell you about what I learned today?
I love that. The spiderweb effect of that is really,
Yes.
really incredible. Yeah, he's doing great work. And I saw that I didn't know that it started with 10 boys, but I saw that he does that. And I think
Yeah.
what a gift to those kids.
Oh,
Like, I know he had quite a personal journey in his life, and just to be able to have that impact on kids. Wow. Just wow. Like, it's so cool.
it is cool. Okay. So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
I think it means showing up in the world and doing the hard thing, being scared of something, but doing it anyway.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I've done that scare the daylights out of me, but I just do it anyway. Say yes and figure it out. I often think of this. I think of like the little girl version of me. I actually have a picture in a locket. And I think of the 80-year-old version of me, hopefully the 80-year-old version of me. And I think about what would make that person proud. When I get to the end of my life, I want me to look at me and go, you know what, girl, you may not have done everything perfect, but you did it. Like you lived that life. You took the path less traveled. You did the courageous, bold, brave thing. You didn't like just, shun away in fear and like just live small. Like you did your best to have impact. And I think that's what I would define as a wild woman.
And you are a wild woman.
Thank you, Renee. You too.
Rawr. So, Tori, if people want to go online to find you, where can they go?
Yeah, a few different places. We have a blog that I've had for many years. So it's fraicheliving.com or fraicheliving.com. So FRAICHE living.com. My goodness. And then we have a meal plan as well. It is my baby. It's Fraiche Table. So FRAICHE table.com. And then on social media, similar handles. So at Fraiche Table, at Fraiche Living.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing. Thank you.